Imagine finding out that Albert Einstein's greatest theoretical breakthroughs and, well, today's most universally hated AI slop on YouTube are actually built using the exact same underlying creative mechanism.
Yeah, it completely upends how we fundamentally view human genius. I mean, we really like to think of creativity as this magical, isolated spark that just, spontaneously combusts in a human mind.
Right, like an apple falling on someone's head.
Exactly. But when you actually break down the mechanics of inspiration, when you look at the boundary between a, once-in-a-generation physicist and an artificial intelligence generating a video essay, it gets uncomfortably blurry.
Uncomfortably blurry is right. And that uncomfortable blur is exactly what we are plunging into today. If you spend any time on YouTube or just looking at digital media right now, there's an absolute war going on regarding AI-generated content.
Oh, totally.
You see a video, right, and you notice the unnatural smoothness of the stock footage, or maybe that slightly synthetic cadence of the voiceover.
Yeah, that weird robotic pacing.
Right. And the immediate reaction from the audience is usually just outright hostility. Like the comment sections are immediately flooded with people dismissing it entirely as AI slop and, accusing the creator of possessing basically zero imagination.
It's a visceral backlash. We are really witnessing a massive cultural rejection of a medium because it violates our unspoken rules about what constitutes real effort and original creativity.
Exactly. And for you listening, whether you use these tools for your own work or you're just trying to sift through the daily avalanche of online information, this debate directly impacts how you evaluate the value of what you're actually consuming. So today, we're pulling from a really fascinating narrative essay.
It's a great read.
It really is.
Yeah.
The text forces us to look past the current outrage and examine both the message and the medium of this synthetic content.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to figure out, is AI actually destroying human imagination? Or does our entire definition of original creativity need a massive, urgent reality check?
Right. And to get to the bottom of why we are so deeply panicked by AI realism today, the source text argues we actually have to rewind all the way back to our childhood toy boxes.
The toy boxes.
Yeah. We have to look at the human drive to build simulations. Because long before we had neural networks generating hyper-realistic video, we were constantly building physical approximations of reality just to understand the world.
Right. And the text uses this classic example of childhood play, like the bright plastic hammers, the blunt chisels, the little toy saws.
Oh, yeah, the classic Fisher-Price stuff.
Exactly. You give a kid a plastic tool belt so they can simulate being a builder. Obviously, you don't hand a toddler a reciprocating metal saw.
Definitely not.
Because the real world has real consequences. The plastic tool is, it's an abstraction layer. It's a safe simulation where the child can learn the mechanics of construction without the actual physical danger.
And that drive to abstract and simulate, it doesn't stop in childhood at all. It just becomes vastly more complex as we grow up. The author of our source text shares this brilliant personal through line, detailing how their father introduced them to tabletop wargaming.
Oh man, tabletop wargaming.
Yeah, and this wasn't just playing with action figures in the dirt. This was recreating historical conflicts with intense, granular detail.
Right, they were using model soldiers to refight the Battle of Waterloo or the Peninsular War.
Exactly, and the scope of what they were simulating on a dining room table is just wild.
Yeah, the text mentions recreating stage fights between Greek armies from the Peloponnesian Wars.
Wow.
And even refighting the Battle of Sekigahara. And the process wasn't just, rolling dice and cheering.
No, not at all.
Half the cognitive work was in the preparation, like painting the troops, building the terrain, and critically learning the incredibly complex rule systems that governed how these armies could even interact.
Which is really the core mechanism of why simulations matter in the first place. The author readily admits that pushing a painted plastic cavalry unit across a felt mat, it didn't give them any actual physical experience of war.
No, of course not.
It didn't teach them how to fire a musket or what it felt like to hold a heavy Spartan shield in a real phalanx. The physical reality was completely absent.
But the strategic reality was completely intact.
Precisely. By stripping away the physical danger and the noise of reality, the simulation isolated the underlying rules.
Right.
It taught them the strategy, the tactics, and the logistical challenges of historical battles. It fostered this deep, lasting intellectual interest in historical conflict. We essentially build simulations to compress complex realities into manageable educational frameworks.
Yeah, simulation is basically data compression for the human brain.
That's a great way to put it.
And as the essay points out, as our technology improved, our simulations just got better and better at compressing that data. Like we moved from painted plastic models on a table to computer games.
Right, the digital leap.
Yeah. The author talks about graduating to strategy video games and hand-to-hand combat games.
And those early fighting games are a perfect example of how our brains willingly accept massive abstractions. As the author notes, you are strategically wiggling a little plastic joystick to make a cluster of pixels on a screen, execute moves that completely defy human physiology.
And gravitational physics, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody played a fighting game in 1995 and started screaming like, this is ruining the sanctity of real martial arts.
Right.
We totally understood the assignment. We knew it was a simulation designed for entertainment.
Yeah.
And over the decades, we've basically cheered as those digital simulations have closed the gap with reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the text points to modern car racing games, noting that the physics engines and the visual rendering are now so sophisticated, it can be genuinely difficult to tell a gameplay clip apart from a broadcast of real-life racing.
And we celebrate that hyper-realism. We give developers awards for making the digital Tarak look exactly like the real thing.
Yeah, exactly. But here is the friction. The moment that hyper-realism stops being an interactive physics engine in a racing game and starts being an AI generating a photorealistic video of a person walking down a street, the culture completely flips.
It does. It really does.
The celebration turns into an outright panic. We are furious that the simulation has gotten, too good.
Well, the outrage stems from a perceived loss of agency.
What do you mean?
Well, with the racing game, a human is still holding the controller. The human is driving the simulation. But with the rise of what people call AI slop, the perception is that the machine is entirely autonomous.
Oh, I see.
The accusation is that these systems operate in a complete vacuum of human creativity, that it's just a black box spitting out synthetic garbage.
Right. And to understand why that accusation is actually fundamentally flawed, we have to look at the mechanics of how these AI systems actually function.
Yes, we do.
Because current generative models do not create original work out of thin air. They aren't autonomous gods just dreaming up images in the void. They are entirely dependent on a massive fuel source.
They require data, vast, unimaginable oceans of text, image, and video data, all of which was originally generated by human beings.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how the author of our source text introduces a crucial conceptual model. They refer to this ingested data not just as files, but as ingredients.
Ingredients. Yeah, let's dig into the mechanics of that ingredient concept, because I think a lot of people misunderstand how an AI actually processes a painting or a photograph.
They really do.
The AI isn't like saving a compressed JPEG of a Van Gogh painting on a hard drive and then just cutting and pasting a piece of it later. It's much deeper than that.
It's entirely mathematical. When an AI system ingests millions of human-created images, it's analyzing the relationships between pixels.
Right.
It is breaking human visual history down into mathematical vectors in a latent space. It learns the geometric definition of a dog's ear. It learns the specific mathematical distribution of color that represents the texture of oil paint.
Or the lighting artifacts of an old 1970s film camera.
Exactly. It extracts the conceptual ingredients from all that human data.
So when you type a prompt into an image generator, the machine isn't going to some digital filing cabinet to grab pre-existing pictures.
Oh, not at all.
It is synthesizing a brand new image by blending those extracted mathematical ingredients. It applies the learned concept of dog and the learned concept of oil paint to assemble something that has literally never existed before, but is made entirely of human building blocks.
It is the ultimate composite, which means the content that people so angrily dismiss as soulless AI slop is, paradoxically, a hyper-compressed mirror of collective human output.
Wow.
It is a massive, complex aggregation of the work of millions of human artists, writers, and creators. The AI is simply the mechanism, the incredibly fast mathematical blender that is assembling those human ingredients based on a user's prompt.
So what does this all mean? Because if we follow that logic to its natural endpoint, it raises a massive red flag for me.
Oh, for sure.
If I build a machine that scrapes the hard work, the distinct styles, and the literal life's work of millions of human beings without their explicit permission, and I use those ingredients to generate my own profitable YouTube video,
Yeah.
isn't that just high-tech laundering? Like, even if it isn't literally cutting and pasting, isn't extracting the ingredients of someone else's creativity basically theft?
Well, that is the defining legal and moral question of this technological era, and the author tackles it head-on by examining the concept of plagiarism.
Because technically, the AI did not develop these aesthetic ideas on its own. It couldn't have.
Exactly. By the strictest definition of plagiarism, presenting another's work without attribution, it's a very gray area.
Very gray.
But the author urges us to look closely at the nuance here. The AI isn't copying a single human's work in its entirety. It isn't taking an illustrator's exact finished piece, stripping their watermark off, and presenting it as a new creation.
Right.
It is drawing a vast array of microscopic ingredients from millions of different contributions to prepare a new, distinct work.
It's the scale that makes it complicated.
Exactly.
Taking one ingredient from one person is copying. But taking a billion microscopic ingredients from a billion people is, well, it's something entirely new. But it still feels fundamentally uncomfortable to human creators.
It feels uncomfortable because, as the text argues, it holds up a very harsh mirror to how human creators actually operate.
Oof.
The author asks a really provocative question. Are we, as humans, guilty of the exact same approach to our own creative work?
Okay, so turning the lens away from the algorithm and back onto the biological human brain.
Look at the music industry. The text points to the endless stream of court cases between musicians. You constantly see artists claiming that a new pop song copied a vocal melody or lifted a specific bass line.
Or replicated the vibe of a track from 30 years ago.
Exactly.
We see those lawsuits all the time. Someone uses a 4-chord progression that sounds vaguely similar to a Marvin Gaye song, and suddenly millions of dollars are on the line.
And why does the music industry function like this?
Yeah.
Why is there so much overlap? Because human beings do not create in a vacuum.
Never.
As the author states, what musicians and the rest of us create is built entirely on the influences we pick up throughout our lives.
Right.
A musician listens to thousands of hours of music over their lifetime. Their biological brain extracts the ingredients, the rhythms, the chord structures, the lyrical themes. And when they sit down to write an original song, they are consciously and subconsciously recombining those learned ingredients.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We are all walking latent spaces.
I love that. Yes.
Every single creative act we execute, whether it's figuring out a new way to solve a logistical problem at work or cooking a meal without a recipe or just writing a presentation, is just us acting as a biological pattern matcher.
Exactly.
We take the ingredients we've observed in the world and we blend them together in a slightly new configuration.
And the author brings in the ultimate historical example to solidify this argument: Albert Einstein.
Which is brilliant because Einstein is literally the cultural synonym for solitary original genius. Like when we picture Einstein, we picture a man alone in a room, purely generating revolutionary physics from scratch.
But he didn't. He couldn't have.
Right.
The essay points out that even Einstein, who is universally heralded as the pinnacle of creative thinking, relied profoundly on the ingredients of his predecessors. When he developed his groundbreaking work on special relativity and general relativity, he was not operating in an intellectual vacuum.
No, he had to use the mathematical tools that already existed.
Yeah.
He was looking at James Clerk Maxwell's equations for electromagnetism. He was looking at the Lorentz transformations.
Yes.
He was standing on a massive foundation of pre-existing scientific ingredients.
He took the mathematical and conceptual ingredients established by the physicists who came before him, analyzed the relationships between them, and then added his own unique recombinations to produce something exceptional. Human genius is rarely about inventing a completely new ingredient. It is almost always about discovering a revolutionary new way to combine the ingredients that are already sitting on the table.
So the deeply uncomfortable argument the text is making is that AI is not doing anything fundamentally different than what a human creator does.
Basically.
It is mimicking the exact mechanism of human inspiration and synthesis. The only difference is the computational scale.
Right.
An AI can ingest the entirety of human art history, extract the conceptual ingredients, and recombine them in milliseconds, whereas a human brain takes a lifetime to process just a tiny fraction of that data.
And that computational speed is exactly what makes us panic. It strips away the romanticism of the creative struggle. But the author's ultimate point is about how we, as consumers and learners, should react to this reality right now.
Because right now, you're going to open YouTube or an article or a social feed, and you're going to encounter media that was assembled by these AI systems. And the immediate reflex is to look at the slight visual artifacts or listen to the pacing of the synthetic voice and just write the whole thing off as worthless.
The text makes a final, critical plea. When you encounter work that uses AI assistance, whether for graphics, text, or video, you must try to look beyond the medium.
You have to separate the delivery mechanism from the actual ideas being presented.
Exactly. The author urges us to examine the message, because the medium is just a vehicle. If you instantly dismiss a video as AI slop just because the creator used a generative model to visualize their script, you're doing yourself a massive disservice as a learner.
It would be like the author's father refusing to learn military strategy from the tabletop war game just because the toy soldiers were made of cheap plastic.
That's a perfect analogy.
You'd be missing the entire point of the simulation. If you refuse to engage with the content, you are leaving valuable ingredients on the table.
The creator of that AI-assisted video might have synthesized a really fascinating historical perspective. They might be presenting a unique philosophical argument or a vital piece of educational information.
Right.
They used AI as a tool to assemble the visual ingredients so they could deliver that message to you. If you look past the synthetic nature of the medium, you can extract those underlying ideas.
And then you can add those ideas to your own internal database. You can use them as ingredients to build upon to create your own original work, whatever that looks like in your life.
Yeah.
The history of human progress is just a long, messy, beautiful chain of borrowing, tweaking, and passing knowledge along. The digital landscape isn't some wasteland of machine-generated slop. It is the largest, most accessible kitchen of conceptual ingredients in human history.
It forces a complete reframing of the technology. We have to move past the fear of a machine stealing our imagination and recognize that the machine is currently functioning as an incredibly efficient librarian.
A librarian, yeah.
It is gathering, categorizing, and serving up the ingredients of human history faster than we ever thought possible.
Which brings us to a final, slightly staggering thought to leave you with today. We've established through the text that human genius, even at the absolute peak of someone like Einstein, is ultimately the successful combination of previous human ideas.
Right.
His brilliance was a function of pattern recognition and synthesis. Today, we have built artificial systems that can execute that exact same process of combination millions of times faster across data sets so large a human mind couldn't even comprehend them.
It completely shifts the horizon of discovery.
Exactly. So as these systems evolve from just generating YouTube videos to analyzing physics, biology, and material science, let me rephrase that. To analyzing physics and biology, will the next fundamental breakthrough in how we understand the universe come from a brilliant human mind, slowly piecing the puzzle together?
Or will it come from an AI that simply discovers a mathematical recipe we were just too slow and too biological to mix ourselves? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please feel free to click on the link in the description below to discover more podcasts.